Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between Mousesports' Mana versus Idra, Game 2 taking place here on Shakura's Plateau. It is in fact the TSL version of the map, so these two players did play on the right version, and both players do in fact know that this is going to be a full cross spawn, as that is the only way that you can spawn on this map, either top left and bottom right or bottom left and top right, at least for the TSL version. Now you will know that you can notice that there are destructible rocks leading into your base, which is one of the reasons why it is only a cross spawn, as Zerg players in general were having a very difficult time trying to stop any early rushes from these destructible rocks. The center Zelnaga watchtowers, I believe they were actually moved a little bit further south on this map so that it doesn't north and south, so it doesn't actually reveal up onto that high ground, but until an actual probe walks by and activates it, I'm not 100% sure. Once again, there's 7 mineral patches at the natural expansions and not 8, and we'll see what happens here on this particular map. Now, Idra is known for a very macro style of play. He is very good at excuse me. He's very good at training up a lot of units rather quickly, getting a strong economy, and simply being able to roll over his opponent with superior forces while being able to defend off against any forces that try to make their way in as well. You can see chrono boosting off of the Nexus over here. The probe has not yet spotted that a spawning pool has already been placed down, and if a Mousesports Mana tries to go for his own early Nexus, that would probably be very disastrous, but no, going for an early Forge instead. And this also opens up a lot of very interesting possibilities, especially on this map. One of the reasons why is by creating a front door seal here, and then placing a 1 to 2 photon cannons, it's very difficult for a Zerg player to try to bust through here. A Hydralisk don't normally have sight up onto that high ground. 1 or 2 Phoenixes can deter any overlords from coming in, and then this essentially becomes an even more difficult walkway, and then Protoss players are able to take or remove these rocks and then expand into here, and then remove these rocks and expand into here, making it feel like more of a north versus south battle. We are getting a hatchery now being placed down by Idra, as Idra already has his extractor up and running, but no drones have harvested any gas at this stage. Back over here, we see Mousesports currently getting up a gateway, already has 1 photon cannon. Another Cybernetics core will be all that is needed in order to finish off this wall-in. And as soon as this wall-in is completed, it's going to be very difficult for Idra to try to break through that front door at all. Zerglings activating the Zelnaga watchtowers, and it does reveal a small portion of this location here. It does reveal these Vespene geysers, and it also allows stalkers to blink up onto the high ground or the high ground here just by activating the Zelnaga watchtower. We'll see if that's ever used at all, as those Zerglings now giving chase to that probe. The probe just wandering around, making sure that a third hatchery was not placed down, and that probe is slightly slower than those Zerglings, so those Zerglings are going to be able to peck apart at it. Normally, if it's one Zergling, the Zergling has a very difficult time getting enough damage onto the probe before the shields start to regenerate. Mousesports' Nexus is already up. Mana now getting a slight economic lead. Taking a look at the harvester count, 21 probes versus 20 drones, as Idra also has the larger army at this stage, but with a photon cannon in play and now a drone stuck on the wrong side of the Protoss wall, Idra's drone should be able to just simply take a look around and get a lot of sight and information. Most likely what you're going to see is that Mana doesn't want to throw any buildings down. He doesn't want to get any additional buildings until that one particular drone is taken out. We should perhaps see a large economy coming in. We are also seeing the researching on that warp gate and getting another sentry out. As soon as that sentry out, that drone's days are numbered. Even though the sentry is slightly slower than that drone, the sentry does have a range of 6, enabling it to shoot at a relatively safe distance and be able to just turn in on those tight corners a little bit more easily. Sentry should be making its way off to the north there, and there you go. That one drone is now going to get taken down pretty easily. Down it goes. finally there. It looked like that disruption beam never really found its target, but still enough damage. A second queen also being trained as Idra going into a third base as well. So this is going to be 3 base play already, and surely or just merely at the 7-minute mark in just a moment. Drones could be transferred as well, as we already see 35 drones up and running. Some drones now being transferred over, making sure that there are no diminishing returns. More drones being transferred over as well. So it looks like all of the mineral patches have a decent number of drones to make sure that his economy is going to be the absolute best. You can see him currently mining away, getting 1,300 resources a minute. Compared to what 1,300. Oh, now finally Idra transferring those drones, getting 1,500 a minute, but he is significantly behind on gas. Robotics facility coming online as well, meaning that we should be getting a lot of sentries and Colossus. Sentries very, very powerful at being able to just corral units, and now 2 sentries, 3 sentries trying to shut down this Overlord here. The Overlord does spot the robotics facility, getting a lucky break there. So the robotics facility has been revealed, and now an observer being chrono boosted off of the robotics facility, and now another Overlord was able to stick in its head and now trying to back away once more. I do not think the Overlord saw any of these buildings here. A robotics bay and 3 additional gateways. Another Overlord just going to get sacrificed for the greater good, and down it goes as well. These destructible rocks, yes, are going to get taken down. I would have suggested that, as this nexus needs to be established in just a moment, and this front door just pretty nearly much very difficult to break. These photon cannons getting a lot of damage in on units that try to attack. Banelings have a difficult time trying to bust anything as well, as this forge has 400 or 800 hit points total. And I believe it takes, at 800 hit points, you need 10 or 11 Banelings in order to destroy it. And that's even before a photon cannon may detonate a Baneling or 2 before it gets within splash range. Drones now still making their way out, as roaches are now being trained up, and 69 drones, all before the 10-minute game mark in this battle. So Idra definitely getting a stronger economic lead already, as stalkers now make their way towards the destructible rocks, should start shooting down these rocks even further, and this nexus should be coming in relatively shortly. We do have a Colossus now being trained. Level 1 weapons upgrade completed. Level 2 weapons upgrade nowhere to be found, as we do not have a Twilight Council yet, but instead opting to go for armor upgrades. Stalkers, sentries, no zealots in this group, as a nexus will be warped in just a moment, and the stalkers may try to take down these rocks as well, and it would lead straight into this high ground expansion here. Idra would have a little bit more difficult time, perhaps instead trying to take this expansion here, as there is an Overlord just suiciding straight in, and he sees that there is a nexus over here. So a lucky break once more, as Mousesports Mana trying to shoot down this Overlord. Overlord will get destroyed rather easily, and now Zerglings pecking away at these rocks. 86 compared to 141. Idra definitely having the advantage at this point, but with Mana having enough sentries down over here, this expansion should have really little to no difficulty fending off, or he should have no problem trying to defend off this expansion here. And now photon cannons coming in once more. In comes a force field. Roaches unable to get any damage in, and now a couple of Zerglings just going to get stuck between a force field and a force field, and with nowhere to run. And now a Colossus joining the party with the extended thermal lance range already completed, and now a second observer being trained as well. Zerglin still sitting outside the front door here. Mana slowly taking his time, and he doesn't want to rush this play. You can see that Idra has such a large economic and army advantage, but he's really not able to do anything with this at this stage. Roaches now trying to bust their way through over here, and now in come a couple of force fields. Many of those roaches unable to really fire back, except for at this forge over here. Another force field could be placed down, but the forge has been taken down. More units are going to be coming in. Another force field has been placed down here, as the roaches are trying to brute force their way straight into this base. One roach is battling it out over here, as more stalkers now coming into play, and another cybernetics core has been taken down. The stalkers do not have blink, unable to catch up there, and the roaches dealing the first serious blow. But with the Colossus coming over and the level 1 weapons upgraded completed, those roaches did not want to engage. And now we see Corruptors joining in on this fight as well. A Forge and a Cybernetics Core coming back online. There are there's one photon cannon and a couple sentries here, making sure that these rocks are not destroyed. But that's nothing that a couple of burrowed roaches or even one Ultralisk could barrel down this door and simply open up this entrance fairly easily. The Colossi are making their way over as well. The armor upgrades was not completed in time, so a lucky break and being able to destroy that when that research was nearly completed. 1-0 upgrades for the roaches, soon to be 2-1 upgrades, as we are getting the missile upgrades and the armor carapace upgrades at this time. As the stalkers, sentries now trying to make their way through. They did see a lot of overlords in the air there. Those overlords deciding to back off. They don't want to just get shot down. And now we have a decent amount of corruptors. Corruption most likely can be or will be cast onto those colossus or colossi, and those colossi will get taken down. Double Templar Archives. What is that about? One Templar Archives here, and is there another Templar Archives? Yeah, there is another Templar Archives, but where is it? Another Templar Archives here. Perhaps he's trying to research Psystorm, and what other research is there at a Templar Archives? There is none. Okay, so Mana going to be making a mistake there, getting double Templar Archives, and yeah, that's just complete waste there. No amulet research possible, but at least if one of those Templar Archives does get sniped, another one is still to be found. And if Idra does try to snipe down one of those Templar Archives, he may think that High Templars are nowhere to be found, when in fact they are. More High Templars now being added to this army, and what I really want to see is I want to see the use of Archons. Archons are really powerful against Zerg now, especially with that additional +1 range. That additional +1 range really allows the High Templars to shoot down Zerglings before they get within a decent combat range. And now we do see a lot of Corruptors coming in as well. The Corruptors going straight after the Colossus. No force field on the ramp. There's one force field, but a Colossus was taken down as Idra's Corruptors now in full retreat once more. We already having 8 High Templars in play. Stalkers and Zealots being added to this army. 200 food versus 160. And this is really a problem for Idra. Idra sitting on 4,000 minerals and 4,500 resources, but has nowhere to really attack. He doesn't want to engage in a very tight ball, as High Templars and Colossus going to just absolutely make a mess of him. With this ground army, Broodlords could try to be used as well, but then again, the High Templars are able to Psystorm underneath those Broodlords, and because they are that slow moving, that's going to be an issue. We are also getting Blink now researched, so the Stalkers with Blink are going to get some decent amount of damage as well. Stalkers and Colossus Corruptors quickly coming in as well. Stalkers trying to fight back. We should be getting more force fields. Where are those Psystorms? Multiple Psystorms being dealt, and so much damage, especially on those Corruptors. Those Corruptors are very expensive units, as those Corruptors are now simply picked apart out of the sky. Roaches once again coming back in. One High Templar a little bit too eager, and more High Templars getting focused down, but so many roaches in the red and orange, as the Stalkers could easily blink to chase and catch up with this group of units. The roaches are just going to simply burrow here, and I do not believe, no, Mana does not have an observer nearby, but he could just try to blindly Psystorm on this group of units. The roaches are regenerating at 5 hit points a second, so the Psystorm would actually start dealing damage here, but the longer this battle goes, the worse it's going to be. But in comes some fungal growth onto those Stalkers. Stalkers unable to move. There could be some feedbacks, as well as Idra now finally unable to really do anything about that. We are getting the Tunneling Claws and the Greater Spire and Neural Parasite, so Idra will be able to move up with these roaches rather easily. We are getting another Nexus by Mana, as we are now seeing Idra sitting on about 6,500 resources, and the roaches trying to rush in but unable to do so. Multiple feedbacks as the roaches are simply just melting away, and this is just absolutely horrible for Idra. The losses are just racking up so high. The pylon not getting taken down either, and Idra losing much of his forces. 30 roaches and 4 infestors with 18 Zerglings already getting queued up, and Idra just laughing at I guess the sheer just in the sheer amount of army and attack force that Mousesports Mana was able to deal in that particular battle. The roaches are more superior upgraded at 2-2. Level 3 weapons upgrade now coming online as well, but still unable to fight back against these Stalkers. The Stalkers were smart blinking as well. Down goes another Evolution Chamber. Those Broodlings not going to really be able to do all too much damage at all, as now you see Idra trying to take this expansion here, going to transfer some drones, and also take this expansion here. He has not cleared out the rocks here in order to take down this expansion, which is a bit of a surprise. And now we have infestors here. Army-wise, you can see that the armies are about even now, and although we have a much larger cache of minerals and gas for Idra. Observer also in the air as well should be able to spot down any of those infestors. A fungal growth now coming in. Roaches trying to battle it out. Stalkers quickly blinking to the front of the line. Roaches trying to make their way in as well, but no Psystorm to be had as those Colossus with level 3 weapons upgrades slicing through those roaches rather easily. No neuroparasite used at all either, as a roach simply walks straight into its death. Idra now coming in and trying to counter with Broodlords, but Stalkers blinking straight into the battle there, finishing off Broodlord after Broodlord. And Idra has to absolutely be furious. He has such a strong economic lead, and now simply losing it here as there's now photon cannons that he even has to deal with. And that's just a slap in the face. Photon cannons stopping this Zergling army as the Stalkers are also continuing to put some pressure. And now Idra having more than enough Overlords, still not supply locked. He needs to train up a couple, but more Roaches, Corruptors, and Broodlords still being added. The Roaches will be 3-2 upgraded in just a moment. A Corruptor going after that one Observer. That Observer already getting shot down there, as another Broodlord added as well. Those Broodlords, only at 225 hit points, are rather fragile, so they are destroyed in mere seconds, especially with a focus fire from those Stalkers. The Broodlords don't even have a base armor of 2, so Marines can even take them down rather easily, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of Zerg players don't invest in Broodlords. Broodlords are essentially what I call glass cannons, but very, very strong units that deal a lot of damage if unchallenged, but they have really no way of fighting back against Vikings. They are too slow to run away from any fast-moving ground army, and they should really just be hidden in the back of the base to try to live and fight another day. Stalkers now quickly blinking over. There is one Changeling in that group, able to keep track and run along with all those Zealots there, and that it's rather easy as the Changeling doesn't have an attack upgrade either, so perhaps if he did actually click on that Changeling, he would be able to keep track of it. That Changeling is just on auto-follow with the rest of that group there, but that Changeling of Idra able to keep track of that army and know what's essentially happening at all times and when those units are going to be making their way down that ramp and what will happen. The army of Idra is once again larger in both minerals and gas, but with so many with one Colossus now, I don't see any there's one High Templar and a second Colossus finally making their way out. What will happen with the Stalker army? The Broodlords and now Zerglings are coming in. Stalkers trying to come back in, and now multiple Psystorms hitting multiple Roaches, and it's getting a lot of damage on all of these Broodlord cocoons, and the Broodlords really have no chance of fighting back whatsoever, as long as the Stalkers, infested Terrans now going to be spawning out as just as well, and Idra able to actually push this attack back. And now finally retreating back. You can see Mana desperate to take up another mineral patch, taking these mineral patches here, which are already nearly mined out. 7 mineral patches, each at about 400 to 300 minerals, only 2,100 resources there. But the Stalkers able to just blink back and forth. Production-wise, Broodlords still being added, Roaches still being added, but High Templar also being added as well. So High Templars with Psystorm in the near future. The mineral patches here down to 335, mineral patch here down to 70, so beyond saturation at this point, as a quick expansion quickly destroyed by mass Broodlords. So 10 Broodlords once again going to come back in. The Broodlords are going to finish off these photon cannons with little to no effort at all. These Broodlings dealing 22 damage upon impact, and then able to just finish off and get even more damage once more. The Broodlings now going after those Stalkers. Those Broodlings, however, just getting torn apart there, and those Broodlords cannot engage. If it tries to engage against a group of Blink Stalkers, this is what's going to happen. Just getting Psystormed, and the Stalkers able to focus down multiple units, and now in comes some more Roaches. The Roaches, however, standing in Psystorm, and so much damage has been dealt. The Ultralists, the Broodlords, Broodlings are not dealing that much damage, as the Colossi with their level 3 thermal lances able to swipe apart and take down those Broodlings, even though the Broodlings have level 2 armor upgrades. So Stalkers are once again trying to re-engage here. We do see a decent number of probes mining out here. We see beyond saturation here. Most likely some probes should be transferred into here for more of an economic balance at this stage. But army-wise, still Idra sitting at a 200 food count army, but he no longer has the large cache of minerals that he once did. Taking a look at the losses, 25,900 versus 25,400, and things are not looking good as the battle once again ensues. Stalkers are in position, trying to battle it out. Broodlords are coming in, but the Stalkers quickly blink in and just settling down, focusing on multiple Broodlords once again, and another round of Broodlords simply destroyed, and Idra, being classic Idra, I assume, simply... Yeah, Idra not liking the outcome of this battle. I understand his frustration. He had the larger army, he had the better economy, he had the better upgrades, but was still unable to really deal enough damage against this Protoss Colossus army, and now he's sitting at 126 over 118, losing so many overlords, and these expansions are simply just going to get taken down with relative ease. Level 2 weapons upgrade about to be completed, but it may be too little too late. Infestor getting off a fungal growth before its dying wish and getting killed there, and Idra leaves the game. So Mana able to force a game 3 in this best of 3 series, and to watch game 3, I know it is unlisted. You are going wow, I actually had that switched up. Yeah, Idra took the win, not Mana last time, so the series is now tied 1-1. Mana losing the first game. I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, the series is now tied at 1 game apiece. Click on the link in the description to go ahead and find game 3. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay and game 2 in a best of 3 series.